In the previous tutorial, we saw how to correctly import a SketchUp model into Blender. In this phase, we'll focus instead on how to effectively organize the scene, starting with the outliner. Before working on any visual aspect of the project, it's essential to build a clear and legible structure. This means organized collections and a logical hierarchy that lets you immediately understand how the scene is composed. A well-organized outliner isn't just for keeping things in order. It becomes an operational tool that speeds up every subsequent phase of the work, from managing visibility to the selective control of elements. Once this organization is complete, we can move on to what is perhaps one of the most important moments of the entire process, the study of the scene's lighting. To do this effectively, it's essential to eliminate any visual distraction related to materials, textures, or reflections, by working with a single neutral surface through the clay render. The clay render allows us to analyze exclusively the behavior of light, direction, intensity, contrast, and the relationship between light and shadow. This way, we can evaluate the image's composition in a completely objective manner, without being influenced by colors or materials that, at this stage, would only risk distorting our reading of the scene. Building good lighting, starting from a clean and organized scene, means creating a solid foundation on which to later work with materials and shaders, with the certainty that the light is already functioning correctly. Let's go back to the file where we imported the SketchUp model and see how to optimize our workflow by tidying up the outliner and its related collections. We notice that in the scene there are several empty objects, to which some objects are presumably parented. Therefore, let's select all the models, press the key combination Alt+P, and click on the Clear and Keep Transformation option. Let's select all the empty objects and delete them. And let's also delete these objects that we don't need. Let's select the floor, press the M key, click on the new collection item, assign an appropriate name, and right after, we'll turn it off. This last step is important, as it allows us to keep only the models to be organized in the viewport. Let's select the fence and perform the exact same operations we just did for the floor, only replacing the collection's name with a suitable one. Next, we'll apply the same method to all the other elements in the scene, organizing each type into its own collection. So we'll have the ceiling collection and the patio cover collection. As for the perimeter walls, since they're divided into individual elements, we'll join them using the Ctrl-J command and place the resulting geometry into the walls collection. Let's create the stairs collection. The doors collection. The windows collection. And finally, the furniture collection. Now let's extract the camera from its current collection and rename it. Some elements in the outliner are not yet visible because the Disable in Viewports option is not active. So we'll activate it and delete the collections that are now empty. We'll also delete the copies of some objects which were likely used as a source in SketchUp and were kept during the import. Let's view the contents of the remaining collections, activating the geometries within them. This way we can verify that they are composed exclusively of empty objects no longer parented to the models and therefore no longer useful. Once this operation is complete, we'll keep in the outliner only the collections that contain the models we previously organized, and we'll activate them. To fix the overlap between the ceiling and the walls, let's select the walls. We'll switch to a side view and to wireframe display. Let's switch to Edit mode, select the top vertices, and using Snap, we'll attach them to the base of the ceiling. Let's set the camera view and go back to solid mode. And let's see how to set up the clay render, which is useful for analyzing the lighting. Let's start with the correct setup for the glass material. But first, we need to close a portion of the wall above one of the windows, which wasn't imported or, more likely, wasn't present in the original SketchUp file. So, let's isolate the perimeter wall and the window. In Edit mode, we'll insert a first horizontal loop cut in the side wall to the right of the window and position it correctly. In the same wall, we'll also insert a vertical loop cut, which will align using the key combination SX0 and will make it coincide with the outer part of the frame. Then, we'll insert another horizontal loop cut in the side wall to the left of the window, which will position to align with the top of the frame. Now let's select the two opposite faces, right-click and choose the Bridge Faces command to close the structure. Let's go back to Object mode and analyze the glass material. We'll split the viewport into two parts and set the right window to the shader editor. The nodes, as they are currently set up, are not able to produce a believable material. Therefore, let's delete the principal node. We'll add a glass node and a transparent node, and we'll combine them using a mix shader node, which will then connect to the material output node. Let's add a light path node and connect the isShadowRay output to the factor channel of the mix shader node. This will allow us to correctly manage the material's behavior with respect to shadows. The glass in the window where we previously fixed the top section has a different material. So first, let's rename the new glass material we just created to glass. Next, we'll select the glass panes that have a different material, and last, we'll select the glass with the glass material. We'll press the key combination Ctrl-L and choose the Link Materials option. Now, let's go to the outliner and create a new collection called Clay Material. In the 3D view, we'll insert any mesh, for example a cube, and move it outside of our building. In its Material tab, we'll click on New, and let's change the name to Clay Material. At this point, to get a completely neutral material, we could adjust the parameters of the principal node. However, I personally prefer to replace it with the more classic diffuse shader node, which already has the characteristics we need. Let's go to the camera view and open the View Layer tab. Let's click on the Material Override option and assign the clay material we just created. With this operation, Blender replaces all materials with the clay material, but only during the visualization phase, the override, that is. And it's for this very reason that if we do a test render, we get a completely black image because Blender has also replaced the glass material with the clay material, which is opaque. To solve the problem, we would need to tell Blender to exclude the glass material from the override. Unfortunately, this option is not available, so there are two solutions. Put the glass panes in a dedicated collection, which, if deactivated, allows light to enter the environment correctly. Or keep the glass panes active and modify the nodes of the clay material. Let's look at both. So let's start by putting the glass panes in a dedicated collection. To speed up the process, let's select a glass pane and use Select Linked Material. we press M, type Vetri, and press Enter to create the collection, which will deactivate right after. Let's go back to the camera view and try to run a test render. The image, although still very dark, still allows us to see the inside of the environment. For now, it's enough to change the shader editor to world mode and set the color of the background node to a fairly light shade to better see the interior. Of course, if we activate the Vetri collection, everything goes completely dark again. Now let's see how to perform the second solution. Let's go back to solid view mode and set the shader editor back to object mode. Let's select a glass pane and open the Object Properties tab. Let's click on the Relations option and set the pass index parameter to 1. At this point, we need to assign the same pass index value to all the other glass panes. To do this quickly, with the glass pane having pass index 1 selected, let's open the Select menu. We click on the Select Linked item and then on the Material option. We position the mouse in the pass index field, press the right mouse button and select the copy to selected item. By doing this, we have assigned the same pass index to all the glass panes in a single step. In the shader editor, we select this group of nodes belonging to the glass material and copy them with the command Ctrl+C. In the 3D view, we select the cube. We switch to the shader editor, which now shows the clay material, and with Ctrl+V, we paste the nodes of the glass material. We duplicate the mix shader node, place it right before the output node, and connect both the clay material and the glass material to this node. We add an Object Info node, which we connect through the Object Index channel to the Factor channel of the Mix Shader node. Let's go back to the camera view and start a new test render. Now, even with the glass collection active, the light still penetrates the environment. Let's try activating and deactivating the glass collection to observe its behavior. We notice that by keeping the glass active, the light is slightly more attenuated. This happens because the material interacts with the light rays, absorbing and reflecting a part of them. This is a more realistic solution, although less effective for reading the light. Everything we've done so far is correct. However, to make the internal environment realistic, we need to add a real, natural external light. Let's set the shader editor to world mode again and connect the sky texture node to the background node. Let's open the Output tab and activate the Render Region option. This way, we avoid rendering the areas outside the frame and can thus focus on the part that is actually displayed. Let's now see how to set up the Sky Texture node, which in the most recent versions of Blender has introduced important improvements. In particular, the new multiple scattering algorithm, which, compared to the previous single scattering, simulates the diffusion of light in the atmosphere more accurately, producing more realistic results. First, however, let's open the Render tab and scroll down to the Color Management panel, where we'll set the View parameter to AGX and the Look parameter to High Contrast. Let's go back to the Sky Texture node and increase the value of the Sun Rotation parameter until the Sun enters the environment. A value of around 160 degrees provides a visually balanced inclination. Let's also lower the intensity to a value of 0.1. We can also raise its inclination, setting it to 20 degrees. If we feel the shadows are a bit too sharp, we can soften them by increasing the value of the sun size parameter, for example, to 5. Let's further calibrate the image by carefully and slightly lowering the exposure in the color management panel to achieve a more balanced look. The clay render technique, based on using a single neutral material, is a fundamental step. It allows us to study the scene's lighting by analyzing light, contrasts, and shadows without the influence of the final materials. This approach lets us build a solid foundation. We can then revisit it after assigning the final materials to refine and optimize the image's lighting. Also, regarding the more recent versions of Blender, the color management panel has introduced the ACES 1.3 and ACES 2.0 options. These join Ajax as color management alternatives. ACES 1.3 is a standard widely used in cinematography and VFX. It's designed to ensure color consistency and precise control over high dynamic range, especially within advanced color grading pipelines. ACES 2.0, on the other hand, represents an evolution of this approach. It offers more modern management of lights and saturation, with a growing focus on HDR workflows and next-generation displays, although it's still in the adoption phase. However, Ajax remains the most balanced solution for architectural and still life rendering, thanks to a tonal response that is more readable and provides immediate perceptual control over the image.